Hello, everyone. My name is Denise White, and I am the host of the Coffee in the Green Room podcast. Here at Coffee in the Green Room, we have those conversations that you have behind stage before you get on stage. You know, the ones where relationships are made and business is done. Today, I am so excited to have Colin Sprake on the show. Hi, Colin. How are you today?
Super awesome. Thank you for having me on the show. Excited to serve you and serve all the listeners as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So, Colin, you have an amazing background. Like, you have done so many things. So can you just give us a brief overview of your background and who you are?
Have you got 40 years of time? No, but this overview, I mean, of course, I'm based in Vancouver, Canada. I arrived here nearly 30 years ago. Of course, I still have my South African accent, so that hasn't disappeared. And the big piece to me is it's like, my background is engineering. I'm an engineer at heart. I'm all about systems and processes. And then I took all that, all the knowledge I learned on, business and what have you, and I systematized, restructured it, put into like a really crazy process to help people grow businesses. But I realized there was a big piece to all of that on that journey, Deneen, that was fascinating for me is how many people, you could give them all the pieces of the puzzle, but they don't know how to put them together. And, so I learned very quickly that unless you get people's head in the game, their heart in the game, their soul in the game, those pieces of puzzles just don't seem to get put together effectively. So I became one of the top mindset trainers in the world and then I structured the mindset training to be so, like, my new book, it's going to come out in the next couple of years, is called Systematizing the Human Mind, because I believe you can systematize it. And that'll be highly controversial, but it's all good. So my background is really building businesses. I've had multiple exits. I'm busy building 3 companies right now that will go to probably north of 100 million in the next 12 to 24 months. So that's not between them, that's each of them going to north of 9 figures. And really just excited to help. And please don't ever, if you're listening, don't take that as a brag. I love watching people excel, because the more you help people grow companies, the more people they help, the more it helps society, the more it helps the families, all that kind of stuff. So I'm more driven to see other people achieve incredible results than I am about the money.
That's all. And you know what? Here's the thing. Like, I used to have a really terrible mindset with money. Growing up, I love my dad with all of my heart, but he was always mad at rich people. Oh, they're so rich. And I never understood that. That's the way I was raised. And then growing up and now being a part of so many different networking organizations, like so many masterminds, the thing I've learned is that, you know what? I want to change the world, but Mother Teresa, she couldn't change the world if there was no money involved. Like, you can't feed people, you can't clothe people, you can't affect real change if you're not financed. So can you talk, you have such an amazing heart, Colin. Like, every conversation I have with you, I feel like I expand in some way. So how did you get to the point where you were able to like grow these businesses like you do, but with such heart? Because so many times you think about business, you don't think about the heart connection. And I feel like you have mastered that.
Oh my goodness, Deneen, what a great question. I think a big piece to it, Deneen, is just who I am as a human being. You've heard the statement before: money makes you more of who you truly are, or who you're truly not. And I think that's a key piece for me that's so fascinating. And a lot of it hinges around my childhood. I was severely bullied as a child, and sadly attempted suicide twice as a 14-year-old. And that, I only realized this through COVID. It actually made me, I was, for many years had PTSD through it, and that really impacted me. And I started to realize very quickly that was the best gift that ever happened to me. And, that's where I think a lot of people, I mean, I was sexually abused too. I have no hassle in saying it. I never said this for 5 or 10 years, from stage or anywhere. I kept it inside of me and, away from everybody. But I know that I believe so much in energy work, and I've worked so much on myself that what you harbor inside of you, that anger, resentment, whatever you want to call it, that's the cancers that come out and kill us. And it's are you festering your own cancer inside of you? Or I was for myself. I'm like, I need to speak about this and help the world and what have you. And through COVID, I realized that that time in my life as a teenager was the piece that made me so resilient, and I've always wanted the underdogs to win in everything I've ever done, and I think it's because I was the underdog, and I've just grown into my own, continue to grow myself. So I have a belief, and I hope it doesn't go too beyond the topic today, but it's like we are born this pristine, beautiful human being, and then we put all these shells through conditioning, environment, whatever, like you say about your dad and around money. We put all these shells around us. So this pristine being has all the powers in the world when it's a baby, firstborn. And then people talk about enlightenment. To me, enlightenment is you just go back to being the pristine being you were meant to be. Get rid of all those shells. I think a lot of people, I even think like 95% of this planet dies not knowing who they truly were. They never go back to that pristine being, or that, let's call it enlightened. And enlightened isn't an arrogant or egotistical thing. It's like, I actually know who I am. So when I came to running businesses, I have lived the philosophy, your success is my success. If I can help you be more successful, and even if it's not related to what I'm doing in terms of any kind of business venture I'm in, I'm okay with that. It's about really believing and living is what you give, and what I believe. I live by 4 words, which is believe, vibrate, radiate, receive. So it's like what you believe is what you vibrate, is what you radiate, what you receive. So I've lived that in all my businesses. I go out and I help as many people as I can. Sometimes people say to me, you over help people. I'm like, it's just part of my nature. I love giving. I love supporting. That's how we got to meet, you and I, and Michael as well. So it's just really, and then just bringing your heart in, like this thing of how do I screw somebody? How do I take advantage of somebody? How do I make money? Because you're so focused on the money. When you focus on the human, that's when relationship changes. And one of my own coined phrases that I love to use, I use it all over the place, is when you focus on dollars, you'll have money to count. But when you focus on people, you'll have countless dollars.
I love that. You need to have that made into a t-shirt.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
No, I love that. I love that because because the thing is, again, if you're focused, the thing I think people don't realize about money, and this is a lot of Tony Robbins training, a lot of mindset training myself, is that money is energy.
Yeah,
and
100%.
People think that being rich is success, but having money is an overflow of being successful, and being successful is all those things you just spoke about what you believe in, your vibration, helping people. That's success.
Completely. When you raise other people up, you'll raise your bank account up.
Yep.
When you try and mess people up, or F people up, what do you want to call it, guess what happens to your bank account? Karma's a bitch. People think they can take advantage of people. Yeah, maybe it doesn't happen in this life, but it'll happen somewhere along the line that the more you take advantage of people, the more you get taken advantage of, or karma comes and gets you somewhere. You're like, why do I become so successful? And then every 10 years, and then suddenly I lose it all. It's because your success is not focused on the people. It's focused on the money.
Yeah. Well, something else we learned from, I've picked up from Tony Robbins too, is a rising tide raises all ships. And the thing I love about you, Colin, is that you do give. I've only known you for a short while. I feel like I've known you so much longer. But the one thing I can see about you is that you are always giving back. And you are lifting up. You had the opportunity to speak at one of our events a couple weeks ago, and we had agents on there from like LA, from New York. We had like actors on, and you were everyone's favorite speaker because you spoke so much into their lives. And I don't know, I think that but I hope how much you've expanded so many other, and that's just a microcosm of what you do. I remember at BA too, when you spoke, we were like, oh my gosh, there's something about this man that we want to get to know, because we love giving back to everywhere we go. Whenever we're in a city or whatever, we always give back in some way. We're actually going to Cancun next February, not this year, or next November rather, where we're going to be going, and we're going to be building a school, and we're having our actors and models come do that, because we know that giving back is so important. Like, giving back to people who don't have is so important.
Absolutely. Well, I'll even share with you, Deneen, a big part, and maybe this can be for all the people that listen to the show, is think about what your just cause is. So every one of my companies has a just cause. So, one of them is we have this amazing product that is just like, it's simple, but it's like the Yeti, but the foodware of Yeti. It's a bowl of 8-inch diameter versus a Yeti flask or whatever. But the key thing for me in that bowl is, people can take food to work and keep it warm and blah, 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 all that stuff. I'm not here to present that. What we're doing with it, though, is I know in my own backyard here, 1 in 4 children goes to school without food in their belly. This is Canada.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like, well, in the local community, which is a big population. So I'm like, well, our goal is to feed all local communities. Feed the children before they go to school. Figure out how we're going to do that. So we take a percentage of all profits from the company to go and feed the children. And every one of our companies, we've had ladies that have been, sadly been into women's shelters or what have you, because of domestic violence and what have you. So some of our partners are people that came from that environment. So now I'm like, I partnered with a lady who was in that situation, and our just cause was giving back to moms and raising product, like going out, raising money, buying products, picking up furniture, doing what we could to support them as they transition to their new life, or the life free of violence. So it's a fascinating topic for me. And of course, I'm on this big journey now because of my own story to change the world around mental wellness, or to not change is a very strong word, to support the world on mental wellness. And I know in about a week's or time, and even when people listen to this later, it'll be maybe long after, is I'm launching an entire program and just giving it away on mental wellness to help people see the world differently, to take things to the next level, and just support them. And people are like, you're just going to give it away? Yeah, I've professionally recorded at my home in September. I've been editing it now for about 2 or 3 months, and it's going to be launched so that it can go. I want it to go viral, and not viral so I can make money. I want it to go viral so we can stop suicides, so we can stop people jumping off buildings. And we have 22 veterans a day in America commit suicide. If I can get that down to 20 or 15 or whatever, I've done my job. I want to get it down to 0.
Yeah.
But we're not here to cure PTSD or whatever. I'm not saying we cure anything or we do whatever. I just want people to have a different perspective. Most people, our biggest thing that holds us back is the illusion we create in front of ourselves.
Yeah.
Around any situation.
I love that. And I love your heart too, because one of my favorite, I wear a starfish on my necklace all the time. And the reason I wear this starfish is I heard a story about a kid. He was walking down the beach, and it was a beach full of starfish. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of starfish on the beach. So he walked up and he would just keep throwing them into the ocean. And this man stopped him and like kind of was laughing at him. He was like, "Hey kid, what are you doing?" He was like, "I'm saving the starfish." And the man said, "You're not going to be able to save every one of them." So the kid picked up one starfish, looked him in the eye, threw it in the ocean. He said, "Well, I just saved that one, didn't I?" And I think if we all had the perspective of, if we could just help one person, not save them, like you said, but if you could just help one person and that one person helps, think about the butterfly effect, that the world could be changed.
Completely, Deneen. And I think a lot of times too, one of my favorite analogies in the world is it doesn't matter what the make of vehicle is, but I use the Tesla in the desert. And this is what you're helping a lot of your actors with, and aspiring actors and what have you as well, is the Tesla in the desert is, like a bushman comes running along with his little loincloth on and is going out to hunt, and suddenly he sees this Tesla in the middle of the desert in front of him. And he's never seen a car, doesn't know what a wheel is. So of course it's like highly fearful, walks up and touches it and taps it and whatever, and then runs away just completely fearful because he doesn't know any different. And if only someone walked up to him and said, let me explain to you what that Tesla can do for you. That Tesla can help you go hunting. You can kill your animal, put it in the trunk, take it home to your family. You can go find water with the Tesla, pick up your water, take it home to your family. But because he doesn't know and he hasn't got a mentor to help him, then he just runs away full of fear.
Yeah.
But that happens to all of us in so many areas of our lives. I mean, at VIP Ignite, that's what you're supporting your membership on, and so they're giving them, like, helping them open their eyes to seeing things differently, because we all have Teslas. I have Teslas in my desert that I go to mentors and I'm like, I touch and I run away fearful, and they're like, Colin, let me just do it this way. And I'm like, wow, that's super, like, that's, thank you. And yes, does fear go up when they give me that advice on what to do with it? It's like, imagine being that bushman, getting in the car and driving for the first time. You're nervous or whatever, but then 2 weeks later you're driving like you own the desert. And I think that's the same, that analogy is so important for everyone to realize. Mentorship is the most important thing in your life. And so many people don't look at mentorship in that way. I think mentorship is a cost. It's a bigger cost not to have mentorship. Because we don't know what we don't know, and no one can help us unveil our Teslas until we go to somebody who's at a different level, who's done things differently to us, and then they just open your eyes to what all of a sudden your Tesla is, and you're like, oh my goodness. And sometimes we don't even know. I was on a call earlier today with somebody, and they said to me, Colin, what are your Teslas? And I'm like, to be really honest, I don't know what my Teslas are, but I know I have them.
I love that. And that's where you, like you said, where mentors come in. So let me ask you a question. Who is one of the biggest mentors in your life that helped get you to where you are right now?
Wow. For sure, number one would be the guy that got me out of the real terrible negative space I was in when I was a teenager. And that was John Kehoe. Many people don't know John, but he lives here, he lives I can't say down the road from me, it's about an hour from my home. And I was a kid reading this book about this man. I'm 14 in South Africa, reading about this man who goes to live in a cabin for a year and get his mind straight and everything else. And I'm like, I need to do that. And I had this vision of like this little cabin, snow falling, only to then eventually move to Canada, be an hour down the road from him. And I went out and had a coffee with him maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, prior to COVID. And we went out and had a coffee. And of course, I took him the book. And of course, the book's like, 25 years, he's 25 years younger, or whatever. Actually, at that stage, the picture in the book was from when when I first saw him, which was like 40 years ago. And he's like, wow, I didn't know someone would keep that book and hold it so close to them. So John was a huge influence on me to get my head in the game. And then from there, I got so fascinated about mindset. I'm like, mindset's everything. And then I'd say my granddad was a huge influence in my life on my mom's side. He was such an amazing man. He started the Institute of Marketing Management in South Africa. I loved marketing. He was a carpenter. I became a carpenter. So I just followed in my granddad's footsteps. And he was a great mentor to me. And then, of course, as I've grown, I've just gone and found these bigger mentors. I mean, I've got to have great conversations and be mentored by like Sir Richard Branson, and then go and spend time with, I think, people like, there's so many, Jack Canfield and John Gray and all these different celebrities that are out there that are like, they're already driving the Tesla. They even can see that they have the Tesla that I need, but I can't see it. So I love it. So there's so many great mentors in my life, and there's been some really great female mentors. I'm a very big fan of Leslie Blodgett. She grew Bare Minerals makeup and then sold to Chicago in Japan for like $2.2 billion. And she was on a call with me one day doing a podcast with me, Deneen, and I said to her, Leslie, who's your biggest mentor? And she's like, Colin, my counselor, my therapist is my biggest mentor. She's like, I went through a lot growing this company and growing Bare Minerals makeup. So it's like, it's so fascinating. So for me, it's really, there's so many mentors in my life. I have at any given time 3 or 4 mentors because I never stop looking for mentorship.
That's great. That shows the tremendous value of mentorship. I love that so much.
100%.
Awesome.
And that's where we got to meet at BA. There's mentors at BA for me who've helped me see financing in a different way, or maybe a different way to do projects or whatever. So even just one piece of information for me is mentorship.
Yeah.
Mentorship is just going from A to B with the least amount of financial loss and personal stress.
Mm.
And sometimes the A to B, you don't even know what the B is because it's your Tesla.
Yeah. That's awesome. Is it okay if I start using that? The Tesla in the debt? I'll give you credit, I promise. But I think I'm definitely going to start using that one. I love that so much.
No, with pleasure. It's like I was sitting down one day. You'll hear me. I'm full of analogies because that visual that it creates in someone's mind. They're like, I have Teslas, and sometimes you're like, no, I'm just a bushman running with a loincloth on, and I can't even see the Tesla. That's how blind I am to it.
Yeah. And I love that too, because, and that's, again, that's the value of mentorship. That's the value of being a part of a mastermind, because if you don't know your blind spots, because they're your blind spots, like that's why it's so important to be a part of masterminds. That's why it's so important to be networking. That's why it's so important to have mentors. And let me ask you one question, because I think so many times people will say, oh, I'll be your mentor. Like, how do you find mentors? Because I think there are a lot of people that are posing as mentors that are not necessarily mentors.
Yeah, I think that's a phenomenal question. I think first of all, you need to decide what you require mentorship in. So like someone comes to me and says, Colin, I need mentorship in business. I'm like, that's very vague. Like I'm a big fan of going to mentors. So I have this philosophy, and this is part of who I am, so you'll learn this very quickly, is when I first meet them. So first of all, I decide what I need mentorship in. So let's just say it's mentorship in financing a deal. And of course, I got to know Kevin Harrington very, very well over the years. But when I first met Kevin, we have very set values. It's quite entertaining. So I fly down from Vancouver to Vegas. He flies from Tampa to Vegas. We get to meet. And the first thing I do with every brand new mentor, and this is what's changed my world, and hopefully will change everyone else's world too, that listens to this, is that I said to him when we sat down, we got to meet, and he's like, Colin, I know this is what you're looking for mentorship in. I said, Kevin, let me first ask you a question. What's your critical need right now, and how can I help you? And Kevin said to me, well,
you probably nearly passed out when you asked him that question, because everyone asks him for things.
Completely. And I think that's the key to mentorship. And you got to do it from a place of genuineness. It's not from, oh, I heard this on a podcast and now I'm going to go tell everyone. We're going to use the statement. It's when I said that to him, and he was like, well, this is what I'm looking for. I was like, great, I know someone that can help you. Let me do some intros for you. And so then from there, our relationship became friendship. It wasn't just this connection. And then from there, like when I met Jack Canfield, and he was inviting me to the Transformational Leadership Council to join them with all the transformational leaders. And I was sitting in a restaurant with him. And when we first got to meet and sit down and have a meal together, Jack was exactly the same thing. I said, Jack, let me ask you a question. What's your critical need right now, and how can I help you? And Jack was like, no one's ever asked me. He's like, well, my book's coming out, like Success Principles Edition 2. Can you do some social media for me? I said, absolutely. So I don't have your following, I don't have your fame. He says it doesn't matter. Just by you asking that and prepared to do it tells me a lot about who you are.
Wow.
He said, I don't care if you have one follower. If you go and promote and you do it for me because that's meaningful, that means more to me than any kind of sales we could be making.
Wow.
So that's why anyone listening to this is have to always ask, when you're looking for mentors, like even when I've been a BA and someone's like, Colin, I want to help you with, like, let's talk about this or whatever. I'm like, just tell me, what's your critical need right now and how can I help you? Awesome. They're like, this is what I need. I'm like, great, let me do some referrals, intros. Or sometimes I'm like, I just don't have the right person or the connection, but let me think about it. Maybe I can find someone who has it. And I'll come back to you in a couple of weeks.
That's amazing. I love that so much. We tell our talent all the time to always be giving back. Like even if it's something as simple as, hey, I'm thirsty, here's a bottle of water. Like always look for something that you can do to help other people, because then they're going to be much more open and receptive to helping you. That's a beautiful 100%. Thing. I love that. Awesome. All right,
and
Colin.
just the more you give, the more you give and you give without expectation. That's what I always say to people. Everyone learns this. Like, if you give, the universe gives you back tenfold. Yes, when you give without expectation. If you give and you give and you give and you're like, I expect. You're like, why does the universe give back to me? Because you're doing it wrong, energetically out of alignment with universal principles. So give because your heart tells you it's the right thing to do, and because you just want to help humanity, help people, help talent, whatever you wanted to help in whatever area. Just be authentic. And I don't even like the word authentic. Just be real. Just be real and be vulnerable.
I love that. That's awesome. All right, Colin. So how can my audience support you? Speaking of this, where can they find you? How can they support you?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I'd love to support them. It's just part of my nature. The best thing to do, I mean, I'll give you an email address because I'd love to get the videos over to them, and then they can push it out to as many people as they want to. There's no white labeling. It's just a free set of mental wellness mindset videos that are absolutely beautiful. If they email me on, it might be the easiest, just on colinsprake@gmail.com. And then it's super easy. Of course, the spelling of the last name, Sprake. So I'm sure you'll put it in the notes or whatever as well. So just colinsprake@gmail.com, and then I'll send them out the videos. They'll only be out, mid-December. But once they come out and they're ready to go, please, people, share them with as many people as you can. And then my favorite thing would be just give me any feedback you've got of how much it's impacted you or helped you. And if I can help them in any way in their careers, I would love to be able to support them in some way. You can always ask me some questions via email and just go from there.
Awesome. Well, Colin, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And everyone listening, make sure you hit subscribe on the Coffee in the Green Room podcast. Please also, if you're listening to this mid-December or after, email Colin so that you can share his free resource, because I haven't heard it yet, but I can tell you one thing. If Colin does it, it's something that you want to definitely promote and you want to invest in, and you want to listen to it yourself as well. So Colin, again, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate that.
You're so welcome. Be my pleasure, and all the very best of success to everyone who listens to this.
Awesome. Thank you.